video is going to show you Solar Master Nightfall getting Platinum rank on the Lightblade. First, I just want to say that and skip the timestamps. Over that, I can show you what I'm using, etc. So the modifiers on this one for Master, the 1600 Power Edition, is Empath, Enhanced Radar, take increased damage from melee. Champions are Barrier and Unstoppable. Equipment Locked, of course. Match Game. Famine is the weekly Nightfall modifier. Champions Mob. The shielded foes, mainly Solar and Arc. There's no Void. It's mainly Arc, but it doesn't really matter for this. The daily modifier, right? So there's a daily modifier as well as a weekly modifier. The daily one for this particular day was Infilade. There's another one that's kind of a dual-wielded modifier where it's good and bad at the same time. But this particular day was Infilade, which is a machine gun modifier, and we're not going to spec into it, actually. Acute Arc burns on, obviously, as we know, for Arc for the Lightblade, right? So we're using a Titan setup, a Storm Grenade build, because Storm Grenades are now the best grenade for Titans. We're using Thundercrash Super. We're using the Thruster, new class ability Thruster for the Titan. Strafe Lift, Seismic Strike, Storm Grenade, of course. The aspects, right? I'm using a Knockout, Touch of Thunder, Spark of Ions for Traces, Spark of Magnitude so that the grenade lasts longer, Spark of Shock so that our grenade jolts targets, and Spark of Resistance just for when we are surrounded we get an extra resistance, which is handy to use, to be honest. Pairing all that with the exotic chestplate Heart of Inmost Light, which enhances ability regen, as we know, and obviously you're going to see that in the run and see other people have used this setup. We're using, weapon-wise, the exotic linear fusion rifle Arbalest, a scout rifle Tarnished Mettle with shooter loot vault shot. I'll show you that in the run as well. Very interesting weapon, this. And then we're using this Pitchglass linear fusion rifle. Just I'm trying it out. Not to say it's best in slot. It isn't, but it's actually decent linear. It's not bad at all. Other recommendations would be Storm Chaser. Tarantula's amazing in this. Box Breathing Tarantula is top. Best in slot, I think. That or Storm Chaser. Probably Tarantula Box Breathing, to be honest. But as I said, we're using this to try it out because it's Arc. Armor mods, Helmet, Ashes to Assets, High Energy Fire, Gauntlet, Scout Rifle Loader, Anti-Barrier Scout, Take and Charge, Chestplate, Double Solar Arc, Resist, the seasonal mod, with Reap and Wellmaker on. Boots, Orbs of Restoration, Linear Fusion Rifle Scav, with Elemental Charge. Shield Break Charge, Bomber, Surge Detonators. I know there's no overloads, but you will take less damage when you're nading targets because it lowers combat damage to you, right? I had this mod on, Bad Amplitude, which didn't make a difference because I'm jolting targets anyways with the nade. But I just put it on just because I did, right? With a good resilience stat and have a high discipline stat, and that's how you should spec Heart of Inmost Light build for Storm Grenades. That's the setup that I'm using. So as we start the run, we're going to make our way to the starting section, which the first thing you want to do is get the boss, rid of the boss. You need to do roughly 10 to 15% HP to the boss to get rid. Because if you don't do that, then the boss is going to continually shoot you with the Arc Blast. What you saw me do there, though, is use a Storm Grenade to get more elevation on your grenade. If you're in air, your grenade will go further. Right, that's so. I recommend you jump up, throw the grenade, and Storm Grenade will track any enemies. You track the boss. 2 linear shots that are used, and then we can then proceed to the next section. Because you do not need to kill the opening champs. The reason for that is they despawn behind you, so they don't count for platinum. I repeat it again. You don't need to clear the initial champs for platinum rank. You will still get platinum rank even if you skip. Alright? Another thing, notice just 10-15 seconds before, the checkpoint changed from reach the monument to defeat the Lucent Hive. If you don't have defeat the Lucent Hive in this room, you need to backtrack because you could do the entire run with reach the monument and you wouldn't get any loot. It's absolutely crazy. I was doing it yesterday. I was like doing the full run. There was even no audio cues, like no strike music and stuff, and I was like, what's going on? And I actually killed the boss. Timer kept going, didn't get any loot. So don't have reached the monument for the your checkpoint, and it's just based on don't go too fast, which you can easily go too fast because you're on arc 3.0 with the speed booster and all that stuff. So don't bug out the CPs. There's 2 points. Take note of the 2 points. So that's point 1. There's another point where you can bug out the checkpoint for the entire Nightfall and not get any loot. So just pay attention to where those 2 points are. Your main 2 priorities, right? So let's break this up into like 2 phases, 2 or 3 phases. This is phase 1 of this room, right? So your phase 1, you want to deal with at least one of the champs and the first Lightblade, the first Hive Guardian, right? If you can get both barriers down, great, but you can't right away if the next Lightblade is spawning behind you, because the next Lightblade, the number 2 Lightblade is based on how many Acolytes you kill. So it's because of how good Storm Grenade is, you might clear out Acolytes quicker than you'd expect. Now this is where I suggest you fight the second Hive Guardian from, is up here, because these, for whatever reason, they don't jump up here, right? When you're standing up here, or less likely to, they'll fight you from there, even when they pop super, right? They'll do their barricades, they'll throw nades. Whenever they throw a nade, you must run. They are one shot, alright? They even one-shot me sometimes with a direct hit, and I'm 1593. So I'm close to sort of, 1600 power. So if they one-shot me, if you're in the 1580s, you're getting one-shot by these by these hives. So you need to make sure that you move on those nades. Now I'm waiting for the next spawn, the 3rd phase, right? Get a storm on that. That will then deal with pretty much everything. Don't be melee though. Be careful of that. I'm sort of doing bad movement here, so. But we've got up top. We're looking for the Guardian. I don't know where he went, to be honest. But I'm going to pop a storm there. He's finishable. Obviously, don't forget to finish the Ghost. Get yourself back into the cycle of fighting these, because obviously last season we weren't really fighting them unless you were doing the campaign or Legend and stuff. Then you probably weren't. Obviously, as I say, we haven't been doing it since Witch Queen, really. So just remember that mechanic. So this is point 2 where you can bug the whole thing out. It says reach the monument. Look, now it's so easy just to pass the checkpoint, bypass the checkpoint, and bug it out. It's the same as Warden and Nothing. If anyone knows about the Warden and Nothing bug, it's the same as that. Checkpoints, they work like this in the game. Like, it's sort of based on, there's a certain point, a loading zone. When you hit that loading zone, you got to wait a second or two. Like, look. Getting your objective, look, ride the ferry. You need ride the ferry checkpoint. If you've got ride the ferry, you're good. As I said, don't book it up. There's 2 barrier champions here. If you tag a champ here and the champ falls off map, you will get kill credit. If the champ falls off map and you didn't tag that champ, you're going to affect your platinum rating, because that champ has spawned in, right? So be careful on this section. You can actually lose platinum rank because the champ could fall off map. So it's a case of be careful. So we're just using mainly our abilities. Obviously Storm Grenade's insane. The reason why it's insane on Titan is because of the enhanced aspect that gives a lot of benefits to all the grenades, and one of them is Storm Grenade. It tracks the enemies, right? I don't believe Warlock has this ability, or the Hunter. It's just Titan specific this for the Storm Grenade, which is why it's so good on Titans. And having Inmost Light buffs your ability damage, right? So that's just why people are using it. As you know, it's a staple for me on the Titan to be using Heart of Inmost Light quite a lot. But now you're going to see it a hell of a lot more because of this build. What you notice there with the Ride the Ferry section there is I didn't stand up, I crouched because none of the ads could see me, right? Then you linear down that Shrieker, because the Shrieker will wreck. I don't care which linear you use. If you are using double linear like me, just melt down that Shrieker. Then what I'm going to do is use a Storm plus a Thruster dodge, right, to just about kill the Guardian, right, and then hide, because these 2-shot me, right? So they throw, when they pop their supers, they throw the 2 shields. One will get me 1 shot, the other one will kill. So you got to be really careful with this section. Also, when you dunk an orb on the opposite side, you can get hit here. So on GM difficulty, you could get 1 shot when you just mind your own business. So you're not fully safe at any times when these Guardians are knocking about. We're going to use a super here, we may as well. Obviously the super's not as good as what it would be with Fallen Star, right? But it's still better than using Fallen Star, and here's why. Because the neutral build's too good to pass up right now. Like if I ran Fallen Star, I wouldn't get the nades that I'm getting right now, like the ability uptime. So there'll be times when I'll use Fallen Star and stuff, but like for something like this, having Inmost Light's the better choice. So again, we're on to the next ride, the ferry section. Use Arbalest on the wizards if you must, but what I can tell you is these storm grenades override match game shields. You'll see me do that. I hope I do, anyways. Where you can stick a storm grenade on a wizard and it'll just about kill the wizard, even though it's unmatched shield. But it is buffed by Arc, Acute Burn and stuff like that. So, but this section we're jumping off the ferry. Don't ride it. The reason being is because it's a little too risky if you are under-leveled, which like the chances are you will be. Most players aren't 1600 power. There are people 1600 power, but I'm saying the majority of players aren't 1600 power, right? So if you're under-leveled, don't ride the ferry because there'll be a teleporter spawning in the back of the map, right? So you want to go through the teleporter. So it's a case of just clear each section. Like, look, we'll do a storm grenade here. And then we can just use our scout. We don't even have to use Arbalest. So we can save on ammo if you want. Depends what ammo drops you're getting. Because farming is on this week, obviously. Well, the back end of this week. So this scout rifle, I haven't talked about it. I haven't had time really. Tarnished Mettle. It's an arc scout rifle. I haven't crafted it. This is just a roll that I have. Shoot to loot and the vault shot. Now, vault shot, you need to reload every kill. You get a kill. You get the vault shot charged in your gun. You can then shoot and add. And then it'll do that chain effect. It's a very good perk, Vault Shot. It's like Candescent from last season, basically. Maybe not as good, but I'm telling you, Vault Shot's good. It's decent. I enjoy it. I do want to craft this scout rifle. It's very good scout rifle, 200 RPM. Basically like Night Watch, but an arc variant. And it basically looks like an exotic weapon. Like, look at the design of that scout. I've got to tell them, like, the weapons this season, the way they look, like the theme, they've got it perfect. And this, as I said, this scout rifle is amazing. It's definitely one scout that you want to be crafting when you do get your red borders because it's just such a good weapon. I haven't looked at all the perks it's got on it, but as I said, Vault Shot's really good on it. So this section here, right, you need to keep your uptime of your amplified. And it's going to become clear why, because it's going to help you do the swamp. You need to just keep spamming your nade, keep spamming your thruster, right? And then just keep running around, because how the speed boost works, it kicks in after a couple of seconds when you're amplified, but when you lose amplified, providing that you keep running, you keep speed booster luck. So now we can override the weight of darkness in the swamp by using speed boost. So I just keep running around on that tomb ship until it stops. Do that because you'll get more distance. Then you're going to head left. Now, this is a safe way of doing it. I've trialed and tested a couple of ways with the swamp. There's one more exploit I want to do with the swamp, which I haven't sort of discussed yet, but I want to try that. But for now, this is the best way I've found to deal with the swamp. You can also still shoulder charge below times 10 weight of darkness. Once you get times 10, you will go to a walk speed, right? But, yeah, that's another reason we've got Seismic Strike on. Yeah, there's Thunderclap, and Thunderclap's a really good melee ability. I'm not saying it's bad or anything like that. The reason why I've got Seismic Strike on is for its movement ability at the boss fight, because Lightblade requires good movement. Probably it's the hardest Nightfall in general in the game. It's harder than Glassware. Glassware, there's little places you can stand and stuff. And sort of do map rotation, whereas Lightblade, there's a lot of stuff that comes into it, a lot of moving parts. So movement ability is your friend, right? Now just keep heading left, just follow on screen when I'm going. It's really good, this section. There is a known turn back zone if you fall off the cliff, so don't do that. You're heading for like a log where there's a river. Go to that river where the log is, right? Just careful of fall damage, so just be careful of that. So that's your log right there, yeah? So you want to head for that. Right? And then just follow the river. sort of thing. Do nades behind you, because Storm will track all the Screebs, especially the Raiders, because the Raiders will just continually hit you over and over, and it can be quite annoying. Mantle up this cliff area here, keep heading left. This is what the only the fairy things that you'll have to shoot on this phase here. If there is a spawn of Screebs there in front of you, which there can be, because it's RNG which side the Screebs spawn in, but if they spawn on your side, you need to take them out with a nade. Make sure you've got it. But notice I took out a couple of the fairies there, then Thundercrash. Your Thundercrash is your backup plan for that bit. You can make it through without the Thundercrash, it's just more consistent if you have a super for that bit. Alright? And once you get past that, you lose the weight of darkness, make sure there's no fairies following you, and then you're done. Now we've got Unstoppable. So you want to lead with a grenade as quickly as you can, because that's going to deal with a lot of the raiders. You're going to spawn kill a lot of the raiders before they can get to you, whilst doing damage to the Unstoppable, because we haven't got Unstoppable rounds on. You don't need it. Seriously, you don't need Unstoppable in this, not even in GM difficulty. It's all about barriers. So yeah, I am using double barrier, but it's fine, because as I say, I enjoy this scout, right, with the vault shot and stuff, and showing it off. And you're playing a lot of stuff from long range up into the boss, so the scout plays its role. Arbalest plays its role more when we get to the boss fight. Not so much up until this point. I've barely used it. I've used it here and there, but not too much. As I say, it's because of famine. Famine's on. You know, I could have run special finisher if it was that much of a problem to me, but it wasn't that much of a problem, right? So I didn't even need to do that. Make sure you shoot the rest of the fairies. Right, and then you want to take out. Pay attention to your radar, because there's some raiders still left. I want to try and generate a well, then nade the ads up top. This does two things. It clears out all the ads, meaning I don't need to take them with my weapon, and I have charge of light. It means I didn't waste charge of light on the ads, because now I can benefit from using charge of light on all these ultras and key targets. Right, now when you come here, there's going to be two Unstoppables. One Scorn, one Hive, two Hive Ogres, and a lot of ads. Now, there can be an additional spawn of Unstoppable for Scorn, an extra Scorn champ. I think the key is to leave all the Hive up, leave as much Hive up as possible, and take down the Scorn Unstoppable, and you get another one. I don't know if I did on this one, but like I say, there is an additional one, which you don't need to take. But I guess if you were to skip a champ earlier on and then you killed this one, like an additional Scorn champ, they would cancel each other out. I don't know the details exactly, but I'd be interested to know. Another thing I would be interested to know is if you were to kill the two initial champs at the very start of the strike, like I skipped them, didn't I? What if we were allowed to skip the final two champs of the strike on the very final phase? Those are the two hardest champs to take in that entire thing, and still get platinum. I don't know, to be honest, but it's too late at the end of the week for me to test it, because I sort of just want to get the video out for this. The reason why I haven't is just because I've been busy this week, and I had internet troubles yesterday. There was an internet outage for us, so I couldn't play as much and stuff like that. So I was meant to get it out yesterday, but I couldn't this vid, so that's why it's a little later. But I still wanted to cover Lightblade, because I've discovered, well, not discovered, but sort of reminding myself on all the spawns at the boss, where they do spawn, right? Because there's a pattern to where all the champs spawn and stuff, and knowing where they spawn is handy to you, right? So we'll take out these Shriekers first. Be careful, because there's an ad alive. Pay attention to your radar, right? You can on Masters, obviously there's no radar on higher difficulty. But I knew there was still a knight alive, right? And that knight could have killed us if we were weak from the Shrieker because of Empath. There's a modifier on called Empath. We'll loop all the way around. These two zones I'm showing you are the best places to take the Shriekers, because the boss can't hit you. There's no need to do boss damage. The boss will actually disappear when you kill both Shriekers. Pick up any ammo. We've got loot, shoot to loot, of course. Try and pick up all the ammo you can. You want plenty of ammo for the boss fight just in case, but as I say, you will get some ammo, but again, it just depends with famine and stuff. I'm trying to generate an elemental well because I've got Reaping Wellmaker on. So I pick up that elemental well, I get charge of light. So I'm starting the fight with 20% damage bonus just to sort of speed up phase 1. We're 17 minutes in, and this is sort of how to understand the boss fight, right? So the statue is your point of reference. So think of it like this. It's a circle dome room, right? So your statue, they've probably put it there on purpose, because if it was just completely circular, you get mixed up with what was front and back and stuff like that. But you can't, because there's a point of reference. It's a statue. So you need to think of that, and then always think of which side you're dealing with things from, because I figured out the Hive Guardians spawn on the same side, left side. When they spawn in middle, it's the left middle every time on each phase. That is so handy to know, because it means you can spawn kill that Hive Guardian before he jumps away. Because once he jumps away, you're then at the mercy of sort of running away and then waiting for super and maybe being one shot by a Void Nade and stuff like that. The 2 Arc Knights that spawn, the Ultras, they're not an issue to you really. It's, as I said, it's the Hive Guardians more so. So that's one thing. Another thing is that the barriers, there's 3 phases of barriers. Phase 1 spawns left side, top mid sometimes is involved in it. There's a little RNG on what section on left, right? But it goes left phase 1, right is phase 2 of champs, and then last phase is left again. So it's left, right, left. Think of it like that. It's left, right, left. I've done this enough to know now that, and I've watched other people's footage to sort of confirm it, but you've got to realise top mid's in that rotation as well. So it could be left plus top mid, right? So it's not exactly every time, because there's different places. Like the barrier could come out of the door, whereas the acolytes could spawn in front of the door, or the acolytes and the barrier could spawn outside the door. So there's a different couple of rotations, and it's, as I say, it's really handy to know, because you can start to do damage to that barrier before the boss jumps to you and stuff. And then maybe use a Thundercrash, you know, and what have you. Obviously there's spawns of cursed happening each phase. What I recommend is try and kill them, right, as much as you can, because they'll drop you ammo. But if you are really good on ammo and you can see your bricks and you sort of looking at that as you're playing, then just run past them, especially with speed booster. Run past them and they'll explode. The explosion damage won't do damage, because you'll have ran past them with the speed boost, right? Now we're getting into position. I'm just going to kill this final knight. Look, we're on left. Where did the barrier spawn? Left, just like I said. I'll use a Thundercrash plus Storm Grenade. You must storm then super, right, to start the tick damage going, right? I haven't got Thunderous Retort on, so I would have got a benefit to damage, but you've got to be amplified or wounded. But it's not too, it's actually quite easy to be amplified, so Thunderous Retort's a good pick for this, because it's 30% increased damage to your super, so it would actually just outright one-shot the champ for me, whereas without it, it doesn't. But that's where Arbalest comes in, whereas I can just body shot that shield, get the stun, and then, like, the quicker you get the stun, the quicker you're back to doing damage with that storm. Because you do a storm, that does the tick damage, you do your super, then the barrier will shield, you quickly pull out Arbalest, right, and then that'll get that one shot, and then the storm should finish off the champ. Then the second champ is easy to take. It's when you've got 2 champs up with acolytes, that's the kicker for this. So that's phase 1 of champs, right? So I hope you understand that it's left side. And as I say, use your point. Think of it as you're looking away from the statue, not towards the statue. You're looking away from it. So it's left side. So I'm on right side now. That's right side. I'm considering that as right, and then obviously left over the other side. So yeah. Now we just need to do boss damage. So the second wave of champs is going to start at exactly half HP of the boss. So it's going to be right side champs, right? Now, as I said, we can spawn kill one of them. That's if you've got a super though. I don't quite have a super yet. So I'm going to stall a little bit of time to sort of get some super energy, but it's not required because when the Acolytes spawn up, if you get some grenade kills with Ash's assets, you'll get plenty of super anyways. I just played it a little bit slower, just a safer sort of run on it. So with the jump mechanic in this, it's kind of dumb to be honest on how it works. You're just jumping up and down and you're manipulating the boss so that he doesn't shoot arc at you. I'm not a huge fan on this, sort of how we go about dealing with it. And it's to do with sort of how badly the boss is, because he's a melee boss and a ranged boss at the same time, and this game doesn't have many bosses like this. It's quite a unique boss. It's probably the most difficult boss in the game, apart from, like, I'm not talking about raids and stuff, just anything other than raids, right? So you've really got to pay attention to where he's going and stuff. But as I said, you can manipulate him by jumping up and down. You know, I would like to have seen some balance changes with Lightblade, but there's been none, right? Because obviously it was first came with Witch Queen. They've done no balance changes to him. You know, it's I was thinking at least, because obviously you got top floor, bottom floor. Why not have him on one phase only maybe fight on bottom floor or top? So at least you've got some point of reference, because it's madness. Especially when you get to higher difficulties. It really is madness. I'm going to use a super here. So that's where, as I said, the movement comes in, right? So being amplified, speed boost, really helps out. We've got one champ down. There's a couple of Acolytes up, which you need to take those, because Acolytes are really dangerous. They'll put nades on you, stuff like that. When you're trying to deal with a barrier, the last thing you want is a nade at your feet, so... You know, you might want to take it slower, you know, go around the map, keep doing map rotation, every now and then do a nade or a shoulder charge, just to take those Acolytes out, to isolate the champ, so that it's just you and the champ, right? Now this is also another thing where you need to multitask. You need to really keep an eye on the boss where he is, because even though he might not be chasing you, he's still a threat. Right, so right now I'm sort of getting fired at, so I'm going to have to move. Storm Grenade's doing the damage for me though. See, give me a bit of respite there as well, right? Now, what causes him giving us rest? What I mean by that is him staying down for like a couple of seconds while he's enraged like this. I'm not sure what triggers it, almost. It's just something you've really got to pay attention to, right? That boss at all times. But as I said, there's not too much rhythm with him. It's just a case of you need to really... The more practice you got with the boss fight, the better you are at it. It's as simple as that, right? And people, as I said, they're really confused on where the ads spawn, and then you got the boss chasing you. So that's where I think a lot of people fall down with this entire boss fight. One good thing though with him jumping up and down is you can sort of preempt a grenade on him with the storm grenade. So it's a good way of doing damage. Another golden rule for me is this: only when the boss is enraged like this, the head's off, because he goes faster. Like if he's chasing you like that, he's about to chase you, he's quicker than you think. So maybe just do the one shot. If you're doing like your linear damage with your heavy or your Arbalest, one shot and run. One shot and run. If he's down below and he's not jumping up, then you can actually do a bit of damage to him. Just be paying attention to your health bar and how much damage you're taking from his arc blast. Like right now, look, he's sort of down there, but he's going to start pushing. You'll notice on the final phase a bit more. So this is where I'm out of position. I'm on the right side here. Notice where the Hard Guardian side. He stood on the left hand side, and I also got suppressed there. So what was the mistake I made? I was on right and I should have been on left. It's as easy as that. Now it's caused me a bit of an issue. Not too much of an issue. I've got a super. If I really wanted to use it, I could. But I'm not gonna. But it's caused a bit of an issue. I haven't spawn killed the Guardian. So it means, as I said, they can one-shot with the... will two-shot you if both shield bashes hit. So right now I'm going to sort of check my ammo, think about that, and run past these curses to make them explode. Whatever you do, don't kill both both Ultra Knights, the sword ones, because you're starting next phase off, and we don't want to do that yet. Well, you won't until this guy's killed, but Don't like deal with the Hive Guardian first. He was a little annoying, just jumping back and forth between sections. Gonna re-super. The best thing you can do is if he does that super, is just sort of throw a nade where he is and then sort of run away. And bide your time, and if something goes wrong, there's, you know, patience. You've got to have the patience. This, especially on final phase, because final phase is the most difficult, where the boss is actually quicker. There's Thrall. There's the 2 barriers again. And that's you definitely want a super on that final phase for one of the barriers at least. We're getting staggered here. Can't really hit the boss, the Hive Guardian from here. That's fine. We'll get back up top. Okay, this is our time now to get a storm in. Knight behind us. This is it, eh? With the empath, you've got to watch. Get the finish kill, and that's that phase dealt with. So it was a lot harder because we didn't do that spawn damage that we usually would do on left. So, like I say, every time you start in the next phase, make sure you're in position. It's just that sometimes you can sort of forget because you're baiting the boss, you've run away constantly and stuff like that. Okay, next phase doesn't matter, by the way, because the final set of champions doesn't spawn in right away, so it doesn't matter where you're positioned, is what I'm saying. You'll get an initial spawn of Thrall. They are your key targets right now. Don't do too much boss damage, because what's gonna happen to you is you're gonna have the Thrall while dealing with barriers and empaths on. So don't do too much damage, because it's very easy to the storm grenades are that powerful. It's easy to start the next phase, and the key is not to start the next phase. It's to do it in phases. And the storm grenade will make short work of it. Make sure all the cursed are taken out, because the final phase is chaotic. You might need to go downstairs on the bottom floor, and if there's a bunch of cursed there, it's not ideal. So just take them out. It's your time to do it, and also ammo up as well. Check your ammo and stuff. Just need to get him a little bit more damage. It's handy as well if you start a champion phase with a grenade available, which is what I'm trying to really do. But again, it's going to be on right side, so it'd be left, right, left. No, it's going to be on left side, sorry. So yeah, left, right, left. Obviously final phase is left. So I wasn't too fussed though, I'll be honest though, I wasn't too fussed at spawn killing a champ, because I knew there was a phase of Thrall. So on the final phase, I don't know if it's always the best idea to just go and Thundercrash a champ, even though you're desperate to do it, because the boss could instantly jump to where you are anyways, which could cause a wipe, because he's a one-shot. Right, so it's not always the best idea. We're using our ability movement here to sort of survive that damage. I would not have survived that if I sort of knew that you can jump up and sort of avoid a lot of the attack there. We'll let the Storm Nade finish this champ off. I'm actually lucky there with the amount of time I was given. I know it doesn't seem a lot to you, but the fact that the boss actually gave me some rest there for 5 seconds just give me enough time to deal with the barrier. We are going to Thundercrash the final one though, because it's not worth to Thundercrash the boss unless he's one shot, like 10-15% HP, which he isn't. So the best use of my super right now is on this barrier. It's just getting the best time to do it. I need to keep an eye on that boss. Boss is still below. We'll use Arbalest, of course. Super, dealt with. And that's the run done now. When you've done that and took the 2 barriers, you'll get an initial wave of Thrall though. Right, so just pay attention to that. But that's the run done. And as I said, you will get platinum rank on this. Even though I skipped the first 2 champs. So this was a ton of fun anyways with the Arc Titan, like I said, with the storm grenades. Whether storm grenades doing too much damage, I don't know. But I think it's interesting. It's good. I wouldn't like them to touch it yet. I know they will at some point, but just my advice is just leave it, let it have its time in the sun. Like, don't nerf it. Pulse grenades are really good as well. I think on a Warlock and a Hunter, the pulse grenade's better, but on a Titan, Storm grenade's better if you're running this build. If you're not, and you're running something else, I maybe would just use pulse, because pulse does last a bit longer, like on a champ and stuff. But obviously, Storm grenade's just, it's the damage it's doing, especially with everything. The boss is just about taken out now. Just obviously be careful to not wipe to these arc attack and stuff. But that was a solo master on it, getting platinum rank. I hope you enjoy. Thank you.